Welcome to the Premium Mindset, the weekly podcast where homegrown entrepreneurs and business owners Evan Ritchie and Cameron Bodden share the good, the bad, and the ugly of modern entrepreneurship and reveal what really happens behind the scenes of their personal and professional lives. As owners of two of America's fastest growing and most disruptive companies, Coconut Cleaning and Green Mango Pest Control, stay tuned for real stories, struggles, insight, and advice from real entrepreneurs in real time.
All right, what's going on, everyone? Today we thought we'd switch it up a little bit, and one of my favorite things that we're going to do now is discuss, like, if you've seen Cameron Bodden, you've seen him carrying this book around. He holds it tight.
Keep going, man. I love it.
If you know Cameron, you know that when he starts reading a book, changes are about to come for the company and changes for the better. And what's great about this book that we're going to be talking about for this episode, which is Service Millionaire by Tommy Mellow, is that we are not only interacting with him on a one-on-one basis here and there with Tommy at his location, but we also have turned to his book where he's written down a lot of principles and lessons that he's learned over the past north of a decade doing business at A1 Garage. And so we're going to talk a little bit about our takeaways from the book. Again, it's called Home Service Millionaire by Tommy Mellow. And we're going to share a little bit about how not only have we taken applications from the book that we could apply in business, but how we look forward to using these principles as we scale our business.
I love this book because, and I wanted to, we wanted to do this podcast to refresh it, because if you're a business owner that does $2 million, $5 million, or probably even north of 100 million, the principles in this book will apply to you. And that's maybe why I loved it so much, is because there's 3 companies that I have, two of which that are doing under 10 million, and then Green Mango does over 20 million. So I got to see it in the lens of, hey, okay, I'm doing this, I'm not doing that, or I need to refresh that process because it's so important. It gives you so many great little nuggets in here. I mean, the first chapter that they talk about is the millionaire mindset. So starting with the mindset that you have when you start a company, just fresh, and then it ends with time to get going. And that's his biggest principle. We went to that event, the Home Service Millionaire or Home Service Freedom in Florida, and Tommy was the first one to say, hey, I'm not smarter than anyone else. I act quickly. One of the first things is checks and balances within your system or within your organization to create systems. How has that blessed you, or what does that mean to you at Coconut?
This chapter immediately came to mind because I feel like when I read it, I was rebuked the most. I talked to the Coconut management team today and I said, a lot of business and a lot of your company is a vacuum chamber of you, and it's a mirror of you. And when I think about the relationships that I have with people close to my life, they're very close, they're very intimate, they're very deep. And I look at Coconut and I look, man, people are very well connected here. They hang out, they have fun together. You got people that are totally new to the company, and then all of a sudden, two weeks later, you see them on Instagram with people that have been with your company for 4 or 5 years out at some restaurant at night. And so that's the positive side of it. But checks and balances stuck out to me so much because a lot of my life is very not checks and balances. Like I've kind of always told you, the last 6 months, we've really been focusing on dialing in on the details. Is I don't feel that holding myself accountable to small and simple things has been an aspect of my life. And this chapter very specifically goes over how important it is to have a systems and checks balances where you say every department, this is the department's KPIs. These are the individual responsibilities of your employees' positions. Here is a employee scorecard on how to hold them accountable to fulfilling their individual responsibilities. And I was rebuked because I think it was probably one of the first business chapters where I'm like, I do none of this. And I committed right there on the spot to create a more efficient system to hold not necessarily just people accountable to their big KPIs, but also to the little things like van inspections or notating every customer card after you're done perfectly. And so it was a chapter that remind me that not only at any level of the business is it important, but if you don't know how to nail your business down before you scale it, you're going to fail bigger than just failing at a $1 million company or a $5 million company. If you think going to 10 million is going to solve those issues, like more sales, it just won't.
Yeah.
And you're going to fail
It's
bigger.
only going to highlight them more.
Yeah, the cost is going to be bigger. So what were some of the things that stuck out to you, and some of the applications you've made since reading it?
They talk a lot about CSRs understanding the importance of a customer and dealing with the irate customers. And what I mean by an irate customer is one that's calling in upset. And that could be through a raise in tone in their voice, or that could be just, hey, your technician came out yesterday and they just didn't do a great job. And I think that's important. And, so a lot of people, if you're a business owner sitting there, you need to manage your expectations as an owner to know that no one will truly appreciate a customer the way that you do, because they don't understand what it took to get them. I was watching this documentary about Uber. It's called Super Pumped. And I didn't know anything about Uber and in their story. But as they released their story, like the documentary of all the challenges they went through, it made me appreciate the grind that Uber went through to get to where they are. And that's what a lot of employees just see. They come into a company like Coconut that's been in business for 6 years. They see all the vans, they see all the management, they see all the parties, and they just don't know what it was like that first day when it was just you, me, and Dusty, like sitting there thinking, like, we need one person to clean today. So they take it for granted. But so our job as an owner, and what he goes in, on the book about, is helping that customer understand the impact. And what I feel like we've done a great job at doing is breaking down the numbers for at least managers. And we implemented the monthly meeting because of Tommy, to where we talk to the whole entire company. Management gets to talk to them, share with them the KPIs. I think once they understand the process that it takes, the 6 or 7 touch points, the drip campaigns that we do, the billboards, the radio, the amount of time we put into content and photo shoots is unbelievable. So if we help them see the picture, I think they begin to understand, but I don't think they'll ever appreciate exactly what it took to get there.
I don't think they'll ever fully appreciate
Which is fine, but you want them to appreciate the customer, right, to where they want to fight for them. They answer the phone with a smile, and that's your goal as the owner that you're trying to get to.
While I don't think they'll ever fully appreciate every little detail that goes into creating the best customer experience, I think what we're doing on this podcast is the ultimate symbol of our attempt to not only let our customers get a lens into what we do here to create the best customer experience, but we're also allowing our coworkers, our employees, to see what it is that we do on a day-to-day basis in our attempts to create the best type of company culture and the best type of infrastructure for them. And
I want them to see the struggle that you and I have behind closed doors and the human side of it. Yesterday we gave a training about leveling up. Before the meeting, I texted you. I was like, I don't want to give it. I don't feel like we're in the right place. You're like, hey, let's push through. They just see, they came in and they talked to me about leveling up. They don't really, and I don't know if they think about the 4 days that I literally went back and forth on what to share, what not to share, or if I should share. And I hope that they see all the time that we put in, not so that they appreciate us, but so that they know, hey, we think about what we're going to train and how we approach the topic.
Maybe just a quick pivot, because I'm more curious now, but I feel you're good at this, and it's a principle of yours that I feel you embody that I'm envious of, where I do believe you have a very strong attachment to perfection. One, you want the people creating the best customer experience, right? Our technicians going out delivering premium service, but also you have an uncanny ability to take a look at your efforts in a certain topic and say, I've done everything that I can up to this point, and I'm not okay with it, but I am going to like be okay with what we have now, and I'm going to work behind the scenes on something I haven't done before, which is the manual. And so how do you as a business owner approach the topic of I want people to be as premium as me in terms of a good customer experience, or sometimes you pull a phone call and you hear how a customer was interacted with over the phone for a new sale, and you're just like, man, if they would have pushed a little bit harder, we could have got it. Or, hey, that customer that nagged just a little bit about the service, and then you hear the retention team say, okay, cool, no problem, I'll just cancel. You were like, oh my gosh, like one more, like, hey, totally, you're right, we can fix this, could have kept that customer for life. How do you just go home and leave everything at the door?
I don't know if I do.
Really?
Yeah.
Really? I feel like, again, like I think what I admire about you is like when we hash it out behind closed doors, you walk into a new meeting and I'm drained. I'm gonna cry. And you're just like, hey guys, I'm like, how the heck are you okay with the problems going on, even interacting with some of the people causing the problems and interacting with them in a way that
Well,
almost
I can let it go, and I just know there's a time and a place, so I can move on quickly, but I always come back to that topic that I'm frustrated with, or and that's because like in this book, like this book isn't very thick. I ripped out a couple pages, but like it's not a very
you're like,
thick
don't want
book,
to hear that. So you
but
ripped it out.
but it's so good, and there's so many little, like, it's not like each principle that he teaches, there's sometimes it's only 2 or 3 paragraphs, and so you can imagine like the punch that it has in here. There's so many things for business to function that have to go right, and that's what I get fixated on, that if it's the small and simple things that aren't being done, it's just, okay, how I take it on the chin, how can I do better as an owner? And that's what keeps me up at night thinking about and wanting perfection. I don't think our routes are ever going to be a perfect, whatever our drive time goal is or anything like that. But I do expect that if a customer is on the phone with someone, we pay a lot of money for an awesome CRM that when a technician pulls up, we spend so much time training them to look at the customer notes. So when he goes to the door, you don't have to repeat what you just told the salesman. I tell the story, like one of the things I hate about the doctor's office, I swear, when you get your degree and you open up a doctor's office, I feel like that there's just this welcome packet that they just hand out to every single doctor. It asks you your date of birth, your name, if you're a smoker, the same questions, literally like 10 different times. And then when you get back in the room, what does the doctor do?
Starts going down.
He starts asking you every single question it's like, dude, like go look at your paperwork. I already filled that out. I put myself in the customer's seat and say, if I show up, right, and I have to re-explain that I'm seeing roaches, or my couch in my living room's dirty, or my carpet upstairs is dirty, rather than a technician coming to the door and saying, hey, Evan, I'm here to take care of your house today. I know that your couch is an area of concern and the carpet upstairs. I'm going to make sure I get that taken care of. But in addition to that, is there anything else you'd like me to focus on, or whatever the welcome script is? That experience is so much better than having the customer repeat themselves. And that's where it's like, man, okay, like how can we do better? But one of the things that they talk about in the book, and they talked about at the conference this past weekend, is allowing people to come in and really be honest with who you are. I haven't done a great job inviting people in besides you, to come into the company and really like dive deep. But I feel like you've let a lot of people come into Coconut and present in front of your group, which, and some of these people you don't know that great. Even there was someone the other day like, hey, I'm having this guy come present. I'm like, I don't know this guy. He could be the best. He could be the worst. But like, if our average guy is making $20 an hour and you got 30 people in there, like that's an expensive meeting. You sure you want to give the time to this random stranger? And you've done that. So talk to me about, like, would you encourage people that have a business right now to have people come into their office, and not just come into the office, because that's what Tommy encourages people to do.
Yeah.
But allow people to hold like time with your managers in a meeting. Like that's the next level. I don't know about that.
Well, you know how you finish your home. How, like, when would you say like it was the most finished and you felt comfortable having people over? How long ago?
3 months in, probably, maybe
Okay.
3, 6 months.
Okay. And for me in coconut is I put all my eggs into one basket, and that's building this business. And it's the equivalence of, I think, any couple or any person building their dream home, and not necessarily wanting to show people all throughout social media, but it's just you look forward to show people what you've done. And, hey,
Yeah.
you want to see our shower? Like, in what normal scenario do you like just say to people, like, do you want to see our shower? It's because you're proud of something that you did or the design. For
Just to be
me,
clear, I've never said that.
um,
Don't be like
just kidding.
that.
But for me, I'm so proud of what we've done. But not only am I proud of what we've done, I also own that we're still trying to figure it out. And so when people comment to me on Instagram, they're like, "Oh, must be nice, man. You have it made." I'm like, I'm so quick to say, dude, this is the most stressful thing in my life, and it has its ups and downs. Come check out the office. Come chat.
But if someone came into my house and I'm flexing like, hey, come check out my house or in my business, and they come and say, hey, that shower sucks or that color doesn't match. Like,
Totally.
how are you open to that? And why should you be as a business owner? Because that's what they're encouraging in the book. That's what they encouraged at the conference.
For me, it's context is everything, and I think your house is like, well, hey, that nothing can change there, so maybe I'm gonna stop showing people my shower. But for me, the context under business is that we are where we are because 60% of Coconut is a collection of ideas and contributions to people's frustrations from their previous work, and saying, if I'm going to join here, like, I want there to be this or that, or, hey, at the office, I want there to be this. And we've tailored Coconut outside of our core principles and our core service principles to be a company of the people, and we are open to ongoing feedback. And so when I have friends or family at the office, it's refreshing for them to be like, oh, like, this is small. I'm like, yeah, we're going to go bigger. Or they come and they're like, hey, this is cool. You got a, what's a four post or whatever the thing's called, where they lift up the vehicles.
Oh,
Just
yeah.
whatever that's
A
called. Like,
lift.
yeah, it's super cool. It's like, oh, I didn't know you had that. I mean, my dad's like, didn't know you had that. I'm like, yep, it lifts the vehicles up, and we paid for that. And I look around at the design and the layout of the office, and I love when people come in and like, man, I can tell you take care of your people, and we put our people first, so that when they come here and they see that we're invested in them, they go out and have our backs out in the field. And so overall, no one's come and just kind of crapped on the layout of the office.
Well,
But
not the layout, but, and that's why I say, like, so if you're listening and you have a business, what you're saying is welcome people in,
yeah,
but also how do you make that person feel comfortable that's coming in to share their feedback?
um,
And as a business owner, why would you encourage whoever's listening to ask for that feedback?
I think you as the business owner, and I think I've learned a lot of this from you, and maybe some comes from Mark Fournier, wherever the source is, but it's going around and walking around like everybody has something to offer you.
All that.
And so I feel like people who shoot down like the truth or other people's perspective miss out on $1 million ideas, great advice. And so I've had a few business owners in, they're like, dude, you should have you know, a few lounge chairs, like massage chairs. Or like, oh, like Green Mango has those. Or, hey, like, you guys should have, a few interactive TV places where the guys can like step away from the work environment, and they can go sit in a place where it makes them feel like, hey, I'm stepping away from work, and then they can come back a little bit more refreshed. And check, we've done that. We have the Wii, we have Nintendo DS, things that I don't do in terms of like gaming, but because we've taken feedback where people are like, hey, like, do you got a Nintendo 64? I'm like, all right, let's look at a Nintendo 64. And then I go outside, and then or in that area, and I see people playing. It's like, so not only do our employees contribute, but also other business owners and outside people have great advice to create a better culture and a better environment. It's like, why be opposed to it?
Yeah. Well, I can say, after 12 years of being in business, I felt like I had, what is it called? Like writer's block.
Yeah.
And you came in, I just said, hey man, I feel like I'm missing something here. Everything's going pretty good, but we're missing something. Can you come in and dig deep and give me a different perspective, knowing, the business principles and things that I live by. And that's been that's made all the difference the past year. So thank you. And I would just, if you're listening, like, encourage someone that you trust, like, start there, because someone can come in that really doesn't have your back, because there's a lot of people out there that'll pretend that they want you to win, but really they don't. And if they give you some feedback that isn't true, and you start going down that road of, thinking negatively, like that could hurt you as well. So have someone come in. Obviously, I trusted you when you came in. I knew that you wanted me to be successful, and whatever you were going to share with me was going to be accurate. And like that has made a huge difference for me in a company. And I think if you're as little as 2 years in or 1 year in, if you bring people in and get their feedback, be open to it. And then like Tommy talks about, like execute, don't wait on that information, go change.
I appreciate you sharing that. I really want to hear your perspective on like the principle of time to get going, and why I want to hear it is I was telling Mickey in the car on the way over here, I'm like, man, I hate that Cameron just beats me at, there's a good idea, conceptualize, and he's just like, the next day he's doing it in one topic. So again, Tommy's book finishes off with the chapter of time to get going, which summarized is, if you wait too long to implement a good thing, by the time you do it, that good thing, good idea is no longer a good idea. And I feel like you crushed it in the customer referral idea. And I'm so excited to talk about what you might end up doing for 2024. But you heard from James, and he said customer referrals. James Sisko, our CFO, and he said we need more customer referrals. We're too good. Our customers are too happy not to be referring. And me, I'm like, okay, good idea. Like, I'll go to the drawing board for the next 6 months. The next day, you're like, cruise. I want to give people a cruise. I want to give people a Stanley Cup, gas cards for referring. So how do you implement the principle of time to get going with any good idea that comes across your way? Specifically for referrals, because you guys crush it there and it's so important for businesses.
Yeah, I just don't, like, why not right now? And if you're, as a business owner, I think that the people that do make the mistakes is because they're so bogged down in meetings or whatever they're doing, that it's like, okay, I'll put it on the calendar for 2 weeks from now. Why not right now? And that's, I have great people like you, I have great people like Mickey, and all the managers, James Sisko, James Cook, Cody, Marcy, to where they handle their department. And now I have time to work on the business and not in the business. And that's why I can execute so quickly, and why it is important. And that's once again, the biggest takeaway from the book, one of the biggest takeaways from the book, and the biggest takeaway from the conference was, I'm not anything special. That's what Tommy's saying. I just execute and implement right away. That's it. So find a way. There's always going to be a roadblock, and I think we've talked about that. The people that are successful figure out how to get around that no, or how to get around that roadblock and go execute. Like, those are the ones that have the Tommy Mellows selling out for hundreds of millions of dollars.
So bottom line, our summary and takeaway of the book is that if you're in any sort of business, even an employee in any type of business, when people, I love the quote of Isaac Newton where he said, if I have seen farther, it's by standing on the shoulders of giants.
You do love that quote.
I love it because it's so true, where it's like, why not look to the people who have done exactly what it is that you want to do and start at a much farther starting point than learning from costly mistakes and not applying. And so our opinion's 5 out of 5 on this book. And if you have the time, or make time to read a book like this, so you can
have the time.
Make the time and start reading, start learning, and most importantly, start applying faster.
Yeah, love it, man. Thank you.